Hello, everyone. This is my grandmother. She is going to turn 94 in January, and she's going to talk about the change from horses to cars and how she remembers it being different to today. So, talk about the change and when it happened.
Well, actually, the transition started before I was born and as a baby because number one, I lived in a big city. We had no horses. There was no place to keep a horse in the city. But I'm sure rural people that lived in rural areas and couldn't get into the city but by horses, I'm sure they still used horses. However, I don't remember horses being common. My dad bought a car, and he was the first one in our era, in my group of friends and relatives that had a car, and of course that was such a grand thing when Daddy got a car,
Right.
and it was so much better because you could put more people in a car. You could go out in the rain and not and not be wet. You were always covered. It um, it was wonderful when cars came into being. And then about 1930, when we had the Great Depression, gasoline prices were so high that some people resorted back to horses for their transportation because I don't remember, but I was told, and you remember it because you've talked about it so much, it feels real, that my parents were so fortunate to have a car, and my dad was able to go to work with a car because he either walked to work or took a streetcar. And at that time, streetcars were run electrically, and they had a cable that they followed uh, on a wire down the street. There were tracks that the cable the streetcar was on a track, and I can remember being on a streetcar. Now that's funny, but that was a long time ago. And I can remember Mother taking us downtown to the downtown area on a streetcar.
Yeah.
Yeah, I do remember that. But I don't know. That's about all.
Do you remember any instances of when you ever used horses or rode horses, or were they
No,
just not?
no, we didn't. We didn't own a horse. No, as I say, you had to have horse stables
Yeah.
to have horses, and there was no room. I mean, we had our houses were very close together, and we didn't have big yards or a big lot or area to keep a horse. I know some people, I suppose, just had them tied to wherever in their on their lot,
Right.
but we never did. We never did. Maybe maybe I'm too young. I haven't. I uh, I really didn't know many people that had a horse.
Right.
Yeah, so
So, how are like from when you were a kid, cars were not as big. How are they different from today?
they of course they were now that I see what they looked like years ago, I laugh at how funny they were, but they were wonderful. To start it, my dad used to have have a crank out in the front of the car and crank that car until it
Yeah.
turned on. It wasn't like today, you put a key in and your car's on. It's very different. It's much more wonderful today. Everything is wonderful. What else did you want to know?
Any surprising or related changes, or anything else that you wanna?
Was I surprised at no, because as I say, I really was too little. I was a baby when all these changes occurred. And actually I wasn't born when some of them occurred.
Right.
And so no, I thought having a car was the normal thing to do.
Right.
We did use buses a lot. Buses came into being, and we used a bus a lot to go from one, like my mother and dad would take us on the bus to our aunt's house or my grandmother's house. And that was across town. And I don't know why. Well, yes, my dad did use the car, but many times we just took the...
Yeah. You probably didn't use as much as you do today.
We just took the streetcar. And it was easier. It was fun. I think my folks thought they were doing us a favor and showing the kids what it was like, really. So that was it. What else would you like to know?
I think that's about it. I mean, I think it's almost like if you live in the city today, people don't really use cars as much as they do in, the suburbs. They mainly take the train.
Yeah.
So it's almost like,
Yeah.
they don't use horses as much as they did back then either.
To me, people use cars every day, all day.
Yeah, almost too
They
much.
jump in the car to pick up the kids. They jump in the car to go to the store. They jump in the car to, I don't know, go to work. So it's been wonderful. I think it was a beautiful invention. Yep. So, yes, I think horse and buggy might have been nice, but you had to feed the horses.
Yeah.
You had to keep them in a horse stall, and of course they had to be kept clean, and
Right.
there was a lot of work to them too.
Yeah.
So, yeah, and of course a car is so much more efficient than, well, we're so used to all the luxuries of life
Yeah.
that to most people a car is just nothing unusual.
Yeah.
But
It's almost like normal now.
Yes,
We don't know any different.
it's normal. Yeah, so that's about all I can tell you.
All right. Well, that's all you have to say.
I wish I could tell you more.
That's all right.
But I guess I'm not old enough.
All right. Well, thank you very much.
You're welcome.